What's good, BFM? This is Big Tone coming at you from Big Tone Productions, Beats and Feast. You know what time it is. It's time for another cooking video. And today, I could not continue on with my soup and stew series without doing a classic homemade chicken noodle soup. So over the years, as you get older, you start to learn how to do things smarter, not harder. So that's what I've done. I developed this in a power pressure cooker, and it's a great recipe. I hope you enjoy it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And let's get started with some homemade chicken noodle soup. This is one of the few videos I'm going to do a two-part supporting cast. The first thing we're doing is we're doing a supporting cast for just the stock. And we're cooking the chicken, of course. But for the stock, of course you got to have a chicken. I'm using a whole chicken. Like I said, this is old-fashioned chicken noodle soup. Using a whole chicken, washed and clean. For my vegetables, for the stock, I'm using the stems of the celery, the leaves of the celery, and I got some celery. So those parts of the celery that you usually throw away, perfect for using for your stock. I got some onion, roughly cut up, and some carrot. Those are all going in the stock, and those are going to be basically just for flavoring. Alright, so for spices, pretty basic, a few little curveballs that you probably wouldn't use normally, or most people don't use. But leaf oregano, some rosemary, some thyme, 3 or 4 bay leaves, or 2 or 3 bay leaves I should say. This is one of the little curveballs, some turmeric. Brings out an interesting flavor and I love it. I got some garlic, which is another curveball.
What?
Using this minced or squeezed ginger here. Some parsley. I didn't have any fresh, but I got some parsley flakes here. A whole lot of garlic, minced garlic. I'm using bouillon or chicken bouillon flavoring just to give it that extra kick of chicken flavoring. And then I got some salt and pepper. You know how I get down, pink Himalayan sea salt. And probably use a little bit of butter as well. And then we're going to have our 6 to 8 cups of water mixed in there. So this is just for the stock. And so we're going to put this on the pressure cooker. It's going to go in there for 45 minutes. And we'll take it out and we'll start with the actual soup. But this is just the stock. Don't get it confused. So let's get started putting the stock together. One ingredient that I didn't tell you about, which is, and I do that quite often, so forgive me. I took it for granted. I use about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil in the bottom of the pressure cooker. So that's where we are over at the pressure cooker. So, first things first, I'm going to grab my bird. I'm putting the bird in breast side down, just like that. Right in the pressure cooker. Alright, so next thing we're going to go in is with our vegetables. I told you this is easy. Work smarter, not harder. Going in with our vegetables. As you can see, I got a lot of the leaves, a lot of nutrients, a lot of flavors in those leaves. So don't leave those out. Alright, next thing we're adding some minced garlic. And I'm using a lot of this, because normally I put in a whole clove of garlic. So minced garlic, I'm putting 2 solid tablespoons of minced garlic, which probably equals about 3 or maybe 4. But it's 2 solid, overstuffed, packed tablespoons of minced garlic. So to that, I'm gonna add some of my parsley flakes. About 1.5 teaspoons. I'm going to add my ginger. Going to put in about the rest that I have here, to be honest with you. but it's probably going to be about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half. But that ginger gives it a nice little kick to it. And then we're going to add my turmeric. Turmeric is about a half to a teaspoon. Just a little bit of turmeric there. Gives it an interesting flavor. Also gives it a little bit of color. Some oregano. About a teaspoon of oregano. Rosemary, one of my favorite spices. About a half a teaspoon of oregano. Or sorry, rosemary. And I got some thyme here. We're going to go in with about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of thyme. And like I said, we got some bay leaves. And I'm using 3 bay leaves. 4 bay leaves for that. Now I'm going to add my black pepper. A good tablespoon and a half black pepper. Salt is a funny ingredient for this recipe. I don't like putting a lot of salt in my stock. You can always add, but you can't take away. It's very hard to take away. So I'm just going to use a little, maybe a half a teaspoon of salt. Alright, the next step is my water. I'm using about 6 cups of water to this. Six cups of water going in. And the last thing I'm adding to the stock is my bouillon or seasoning, chicken seasoning. To spice it up a little bit. To this, I'm going to use probably about a tablespoon and a half of chicken bouillon seasoning. And the stock is just that easy. It's got the chicken in there, all my vegetables, all my seasoning. I'm going to grab a utensil here. We're going to mix this down in here just a little bit so it's not all just sitting there on top. Alright. Next thing we're going to do is lock the pressure cooker down. If you don't know how to do that, check out my other videos. I do plenty of showing how to lock it down so it can provide pressure. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start this thing up. This is a very simple one. This is going to go on, I could put it on for 25 minutes, the chicken will be done. But I want that chicken to almost fall apart. And as you know, chicken cooks, different parts of the chicken cook at a different rate. But I figured out at 45 minutes in my pressure cooker, the breast is not too tough, the dark meat is not tough. It's the perfect time. So I'm going to put this in for 45 minutes. Hit the meat chicken button, increment it to high. We're going to go up to 45 minutes. Alright, so it's going to start counting down, or it's going to start going around and around, and then once it builds pressure, it'll start counting down from 45, and our stock will be done. We'll strain it, and we'll start on the actual soup itself. The chicken is done. It's been 45 minutes. As you can see here, the chicken is done. It is just about fall off the bone where I want it, but I believe, from my experience, that the meat is not. It is fall off the bone, but the meat is not tough, meaning the breast, and the dark meat is not tough. So let's fall off the bone. You can see one of the wing bones right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the chicken. I'm going to grab the chicken. It's going to fall apart on me, I know. Alright, so we got my chicken out. Put that in the container, set it off to the side. We're going to let that cool, because then we're going to, at that point, we're going to strain it. Or sorry, we're going to shred it up into chicken, so we can put that back into the soup. So at this point, we're left with this. So I'm going to take a good portion of it and try to get it out of here. before I actually strain the broth. So all those vegetables and things, they're just for flavor. Just for flavor. So you make your chicken stock up. Alright, so at this point, I've got some of the bigger chunks out of here. But now I'm going to take this over to the sink and I'm going to strain this. So over here I got my strainer in a bowl, and we're going to pour this stock into the strainer. And we're just going to keep the juice there in the bowl. Look at all that. Beautiful. Alright, so there's our stock pretty much. Drained off the biggest portions of it. Now I'm going to pour this back into my pressure cooker. Liquid gold, they say. We're going to do another supporting cast because now we're actually working on the soup. Soup is very simple. We got our chicken that we've cooked here, which I'm letting cool down so I can shred it. Then we got some celery cut up, some onion, and some carrots here cut up, and some egg noodles. You can use any kind of noodles you want. This is just what they had at the store. And we got salt and pepper and some oregano. Those are pretty much all the flavors that we're going to be using for the actual soup itself. One thing I want to express, I don't like cooking my noodles in the pressure cooker. So I cook those on the side and then I add it to the pressure cooker. But other than that, that's all the ingredients. So once this bird cools down, I can shred it apart. We'll start putting this together. I'm just going to start putting some of my ingredients in here. First thing I did once I came over to the pressure cooker is I tasted the broth. Wanted to see where the salt content was. So I'm going to add my celery here. And by the way, the salt content was almost right. I'm going to add a little bit more once I get everything in. Add my onion. My carrots. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper in here. About a teaspoon, maybe a little less than a teaspoon. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of salt. And a little bit of oregano, probably about a half a teaspoon. We're going to mix these up. Alright, so I got my water to a rolling boil for my noodles. And I'm simply just going to add those to the pot. The most important part about this is I don't want to overcook them. So I got some oil in there, just a tad bit of salt. And we're going to let those get a little al dente. And let's jump back over to the pressure cooker. See, I got all my ingredients in there, with the exception of my chicken. I'm not done doing that, but I'm going to go ahead and start the pressure cooker up now. Place the lid on, lock it down. We're going to start this. We're going to use the soup stew button for this. All we have is vegetables in there in the stock. So I'm going to hit the soup stew button. It's going to give me a default time of 10 minutes. And we're just going to let it cook for about 6 minutes is all it's going to take for the vegetables. As you can see, it's going around and around. We'll be back in about 6 minutes. In the meantime, I'm shredding up my chicken and letting my noodles cook. I've let my vegetables cook down just a little bit. They're about the right texture I want. So as you can see, here, I got my chicken all shredded. That's going right in. We're going to stir that up. White meat and dark meat. Woo, look at that. Smelling good, smelling good. Alright, and I got my egg noodles here. Those are going right in. We're going to stir those up real good. I'm going to put the pressure cooker now on sear mode. I'm going to let it get hot, bring it to a little bubble or a little boil, a little simmer. And right now, I'm going to taste my broth. Alright, so right off the bat, like I said, add a little bit of salt to it. And you know me and black pepper, I'm going to add some pepper to it. Ah, yeah, there we go. And I'm gonna add some oregano. We're gonna mix that up. We're gonna let it come to a nice little simmer or boil. Then I'm gonna taste my broth again and see where I am. More than likely, if I have to add anything, it'll just be probably just some salt. Look at that chicken noodle soup. Oh my God. Look at this, guys. Chicken noodle soup. Oh my God. Let me plate this up for you. Let me get you a proper display. I don't really know what to say other than this. It's starting to snow here where I am, and this is perfect. So you guys got to try this at home, but you know what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that official bite. Woo! I can't wait. Good old homemade chicken noodle soup in the power pressure cooker. Doesn't get a whole lot better than this, other than me taking a bite. Ah, yes. Let me get some of that chicken, some of that broth. On a cold winter day, it's hot.
Shit busting.
Got me sweating. All I can say is if you don't try this, you're a fool. This is awesome. You can do this right at home. Power pressure cooker. You can do it in the slow cooker. You can do it on the stovetop. Same thing. Hey guys, do me a favor. If you like the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. Make sure you share the video. And hey, this is Big Tone signing off. Peace.